From FOX54 Sports, Progress Bank presents Sports Extra, Championship Drive to Indy. Now your hosts, Mo Carter, Naomi Gray, and Jonah Karp.
Expectations exist when predictions marry objectives, when past accomplishments project capability. Usually, when reality changes, so do expectations. But in Tuscaloosa, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The time is now.
I'm just fired up. Welcome to Sports Extra, our championship drive to Indy special. Full team coverage, as you can see, ahead of tomorrow's national championship game. I'm back in the FOX54 studios in Huntsville, but we have Mo Carter and Naomi Gray up in Indianapolis to help us get ready for the big contest. Hey, Mo, where are you located right now?
Well, Jonah, I am right across the street from the site of tomorrow's national championship game, and that is Lucas Oil Stadium. And for the Indianapolis Colts fans around here, they call it the place that Peyton Manning built. What's interesting is that two teams that Peyton Manning did not like as a Tennessee Volunteer, Alabama and Georgia, will go head-to-head for the national championship inside the big drum that they call it right here in the city of Indy. And of course, we'll have all kind of live coverage tomorrow inside there. We've got a lot of things coming up tonight, Jonah.
What a beautiful shot that is, right in front of the stadium. That's awesome. Naomi, where are you?
Hey, Jonah, I am in the warmth. I'm here at the JW Marriott Hotel, which is the media hotel. They have it pretty nice and decked out. As you can see behind me, we got the 2022 National Championship sign. So my shot's not as perfect as Mo's, but I am warm.
It still looks good. Naomi, I'm curious, what's the atmosphere been like in the city in the days leading up to tomorrow's game?
Oh, the atmosphere has been amazing, even here in the hotel. I mean, seeing the media walk around, seeing how they have this place decked out, seeing all the excitement and pretty much feeling it. There's Georgia fans, Alabama fans, and just college football fans all around the city, and the city is beautiful. I'm sure you guys have seen that throughout the week, all the scenic views, all the playoff fan central content. All that stuff is just amazing, and I could feel it through my veins.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. It looks cold. Yeah, but hey, it's Alabama and Georgia, two teams that have traded the top spot in the rankings throughout the season. Really out of the gate, we figured they would be the two best teams in the country, and now they'll face off for the title. Mo, what did you take away from the SEC championship game when Alabama beat Georgia a little over a month ago?
Well, Jonah, one thing I remember us talking about as we were going into that week is that I totally felt that Alabama not only needed to win the SEC football championship, but they also needed to impressively beat Georgia to impress the playoff committee. If they would have lost, I don't think Alabama would have been in the Final Four, in my humble opinion. And then what happens? Alabama comes out, they take the role of the underdog to heart, and they basically dominated the line of scrimmage against Georgia in a nice victory inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not only did that win give them a championship for the SEC, it propelled them to the #1 spot in the playoff rankings, and then after that, they went to the Cotton Bowl, handled business against Cincinnati, and it all sets up things for what's happening right behind me inside of Lucas Oil Stadium on tomorrow. Now, Alabama, they've had a great 2021 campaign that will culminate on tomorrow. However, let's take a look back at how we got to this point, and it goes all the way back to the beginning of the 2021 season.
The road to Indianapolis began well before the Tide boarded the plane on Friday. Around this time last year, Alabama was hoisting the national championship trophy in Miami, the 18th title for the program and the 7th for Nick Saban, both the most all time. The next day, Texas officially welcomed Alabama's offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, as a new head coach of the Longhorns. And 3.5 months later, quarterback Mac Jones, running back Najee Harris, and wide receivers Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle highlighted a draft class that saw 10 Tide players move on to the NFL. And just like that, for Alabama to get back to the title game, they would do so with a brand new offense. An offense spearheaded by former Houston Texans head coach Bill O'Brien, now with the keys turned over to sophomore Bryce Young. John Mechie became the new #1 receiver with a little excitement surrounding the potential of lead back Brian Robinson Jr. and brand new speedster Jameson Williams coming over from Ohio State. Game 1 saw Young set a program record with 4 passing touchdowns, the most in a starting debut. And by Game 4, Williams had eclipsed the 9 receptions he posted the previous year with the Buckeyes, and in that game against Southern Miss cemented his status as a certified stud with 3 plays of more than 80 yards. The following game, the Alabama defense, led by Will Anderson, stifled the top offense in the country, while Brian Robinson, fresh off a rib injury, tallied 171 yards and 4 touchdowns against Ole Miss. Everything was coming together ahead of a date with Texas A&M on the road. And then the shock heard around the polls. An Aggies upset. Bama fell from 1 to 5 in the AP poll, moving Georgia up to #1, a position the Bulldogs would hold until clinching a spot in the conference title game. The Tide, meanwhile, back to #2 in the rankings, were in position to punch a ticket as well, which they did with a win over Arkansas, a game that saw Young set another school record, this time for passing yards in a single game, and the 3-headed monster of Robinson, Williams, and Mechie each jumped the century mark in the contest. And so the SEC championship game was set. Alabama versus Georgia. Of course, Alabama is still not definitively in the playoffs. The final game of the regular season was the Iron Bowl. The Tide trailing in the final minute of regulation when Ja'Cory Brooks scored a game-tying touchdown. And after 4 overtimes, Mechie reeled in the winning score. Alabama survived what would have been a second upset and a massive blow to its postseason hopes. Keyword survived, with a chance to take down the #1 team in the nation, solidify a spot in the playoffs, and get back to the top of the polls. And they did. Another record-setting performance by Young, most passing yards in an SEC title game, cruised past the best defense in the country, back to #1. And after a win over Cincinnati in the first round of the playoffs, and after Georgia beat Michigan, here we are again. Alabama and Georgia, the Tide back to the national championship game, just like they were this time last year.
All right, thank you so much, Jonah. Now look, back during the summer, many college football experts and even some Alabama fans didn't think the 2021 version of the Crimson Tide had what it takes to defend their national title this upcoming season. However, 7 months later, we are here in the city of Indianapolis, where Alabama not only has a chance to win another national title, they have a chance to go back-to-back. And at the end of the day, you have to tip your hat to Coach Nick Saban and his staff for making all of this happen. The 2021 season may be Nick Saban's finest coaching hour ever. The Crimson Tide losing 10 players to the NFL draft and only 3 returned on the offensive side of the ball. Add a new offensive coordinator in the mix, and that was the scenario Alabama faced going into this season. Despite all the changes, the young crop of Alabama players excelled on the highest level thanks to their head coach.
And for him to, be able to adapt, multiple times throughout his career, that's not easy for guys who have been doing it so long. And for him to have all the success he's had and then still be able to adapt and, kind of change, how he approaches everything, we see that, we recognize that, and that means a lot for us.
He's done a great job this year. I'm so happy to have him as a coach and blessed, and he does a really good job making sure that, we're all on the same page. We know how to fit things, where somebody's coming down at. So he does a great job of getting everybody lined up, making sure that we're all on the same page.
And when Coach Saban isn't pushing this young, talented group of guys to succeed, it's up to veterans on the team to do so. Brian Robinson Jr. is a guy who waited his turn to shine. And when it was his turn, the Tuscaloosa native took full advantage of it. Now he's sharing valuable knowledge of playing in his 4th national championship game with the younger members of this Alabama football squad.
I mean, my advice to some of the young guys playing, this is the biggest game of their career. I want those guys to be as prepared as they possibly can for it, because it's a big stage. 2 great teams playing against each other. Where you don't want to be that one player on that team who lets the team down because you weren't prepared enough, or you make mental errors or mistakes on the field that affects your side of the ball. So, my biggest advice to those guys is to, prepare as hard as they possibly can.
And let's not forget that young players have basically always played a key role in championship games for the Crimson Tide. The last time Alabama and Georgia faced off for the national championship, it was Tua Tagovailoa and Devontae Smith, a pair of backup players who came in during overtime and sealed the victory for Alabama with that game-winning touchdown to claim the national championship in 2018. So we know for sure after the coaching job that Coach Saban did this past season, everything's going to come down to tomorrow, and he hopes to do the same with a talented group of young players as they go for another national championship. We're just getting started here on our championship drive, the Indy Special with Sports Extra. Coming up next, we will talk to the men in charge. Nick Saban and Kirby Smart will talk to us about their relationship and about facing each other. That's coming up next here on our Sports Extra Special.
Now back to Sports Extra, Championship Drive to Indy, presented by Progress Bank.
The master and the protege, better known as Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. It's been nearly 2 decades since the duo initially teamed up, and before they line up on opposite sides of the field come Monday, we're going to take a look back at where it all started. November 1999, Nick Saban took over the reins at LSU, where he'd lead the Tigers to 2 SEC championships and a BCS national title. Then in 2004, a former graduate assistant of the late great Bobby Bowden, better known as Kirby Smart, took over as the defensive backs coach of the Bayou Bengals. Then Nick Saban said, "Hey, I'm done with college football. Time to go back to the big leagues." Late December 2004, Saban was named the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Meanwhile, Smart went back to his roots at Georgia, where he spent a season as the running backs coach. But like a boomerang, he came right back. Smart rejoined forces with Saban in Miami, picking up his first and only NFL coaching gig. But as we all know, Saban's time in Miami came to an abrupt end after 2 seasons with the Dolphins. 2007. Nick Saban boards a plane to T-Town, becoming the Crimson Tide's 27th head coach. And like birds of a feather that flock together, Kirby found himself flying over the shores of South Beach to the Promised Land. Through 6 seasons at Alabama, Kirby Smart went from assistant coach to defensive coordinator, becoming the highest paid one in college football. And he helped lead the Tide to 4 national championships and 4 conference titles before spreading his wings from the Crimson Tide nest. In 2015, he was named the head honcho of the Bulldogs. He and Nick would have 4 meetings, including the 2018 national title game, which Alabama won in overtime, and last month when the Tide dethroned his Bulldogs in the SEC Championship. But the circle is once again full as the two meet again with pride, friendship, and respect across the gridiron.
It's a great honor to be across from Coach Saban and the tremendous job he's done, but it's probably nothing unusual for him to be in this game because he's been in this game an awful lot, and I know he doesn't take that for granted because I know the work and effort he puts into it to get his team here. I've been able to see that. I've been a part of that. I also know the work and effort we've put in to get to this point.
I think University of Georgia, Kirby's program, is probably one of the elite programs, in the country, and it's a tremendous challenge for us, and really kind of an honor to have the opportunity to play against what we feel is one of the most elite programs in the country, and probably just looking at the future, probably will be for some time in the future as well.
Now Kirby Smart is 0-4 against Nick Saban, trying to snap that losing skid on Monday. It won't be no easy feat, but we'll see if he can get it done. For now, I'm going to send it back over to you, Mo.
One player that Kirby Smart and Nick Saban will game plan around and against, respectively, on Monday is Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. The senior signal caller has had an up-and-down career in Athens, but things turned around for him in 2021.
I believe I can play football really well, and that's from the work that I've spent over these past however many years I've been playing football. And then my parents have always supported me, and I've always had really good players around me, which is everything on the football field.
Those were the words that Stetson lived and believed during his early collegiate years. Originally, he was a walk-on at Georgia before heading to junior college. After a short stint there, he returned to Athens with the goal of being the Bulldogs' starting quarterback. Hard work got him that starting gig, and as he prepares for this huge game in the spotlight, Bennett says that the big games that UGA has played throughout the season has prepped him for the moment on Monday.
I kind of just draw from all the big games we've had this year, you know, like Clemson when I was the backup, Bama, Tennessee, Auburn, you know, Michigan, all those big-time games that we had this year. That's where, you know, you draw from and you kind of take things from.
It's been 40-plus years since Herschel Walker led Georgia to their last national championship. Bennett, who is a native of the state of Georgia, wants to end that streak because he understands how big of a deal it really is.
You come to the university because you think you're a good enough football player to play at University of Georgia, and you want to play against really good other players from other teams. You know, and we're playing against, you know, the best in the country this week. So, you know, it's exciting. And I think we're all ready for it.
Coming up, we check in with the fans in Indianapolis, anxiously awaiting kickoff for tomorrow's game. That's next. Keep it locked.
Now back to Sports Extra, Championship Drive to Indy, presented by Progress Bank.
I'm here at one of the main events of this weekend, Playoff Fan Central here at the Indiana Convention Center. As you can see around me, there is excitement through this roof. And I'm going to go ahead and get in on the excitement and take you guys with me. You guys know I love tailgates, so I'm here at the tailgate games, about to play can toss with my friend Valerie over there. Never played this game, but hey, why not try it, right? So kickers are some of the most underrated and underappreciated players on a football team. So I'm going to try out to see just how hard their job really is. And you guys know I'm not going to leave Playoff Fan Central without going out on a bang. So this is one of the biggest and toughest obstacle courses, and I'm going to give it a try. So wish me luck. Hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, but nonetheless it was very fun, just like everything here at Playoff Fan Central. If you guys could get up here by tomorrow, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth the trip. For now, I'm gonna send it back to you guys because I know you have some things going on locally.
Coming up, what's Sports Extra without a best of segment? It's the best of Alabama season, our favorite moments when we return.
Now back to Sports Extra, Championship Drive to Indy, presented by Progress Bank.
Alabama has officially arrived.
I mean, where else would you want to be? You got to follow the tide.
Some of the players shared their thoughts on Coach Saban's attire.
His jacket was very cool. I haven't seen Coach Saban style like that.
They just have a can-do attitude about things here that really sets them apart.
I'm pretty convinced that these fans will travel to Mars if they needed to.
I mean, if I was going to pick a word, I'd say I'm excited, I'm ready to roll.
Always trying to throw different looks at guys. We're going to see some things we probably haven't seen.
The right mindset to know that we're going to have to be able to persevere and play with the same kind of energy and intensity in the game for 60 minutes.
As you can see, Mo and I are freezing, but the energy here is on fire.
So much great stuff throughout the week. A lot of great moments this year for Alabama. Let's remind you of a few. Of course, tomorrow's national championship game is a rematch of the SEC championship game when Alabama took down Georgia in Atlanta, carving up the best defense in the country. Bryce Young set a record for most passing yards in an SEC title game, polishing off his Heisman resume. The win propelled the Tide back to the top of the rankings heading into the postseason.
My best of the year is Alabama's quadruple overtime victory performance against Auburn in the Outback Bowl. The Tide was scoreless until the fourth quarter when a last-second touchdown shifted the momentum of the game. Bama walked in as SEC champions, but showed a lot of flaws in the contest. However, they proved to never, ever underestimate what champions can do.
Alabama's best moment during the 2021 season, to me, occurring on Labor Day weekend. Nick Saban and a very young Crimson Tide team walking into Atlanta and spanking Miami 44-13 at the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. In his first start, Bryce Young torched the Canes defense for 344 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns, while the Tide defense holding Miami to 179 yards of total offense. Alabama had a lot of unknowns going into that game, and we learned right there that the Tide were indeed going to be a contender in their quest to repeat as national champions.
All right, guys, quickly, before I let you guys go, first, Mo, let's get a prediction for tomorrow's game.
All right, for tomorrow's game, I really think it goes down to this. Who can control the line of scrimmage when it comes to Alabama and Georgia? Another thing for the Alabama defense, they have to be mindful of Georgia's big tight end. Think about all the big plays that he made against Michigan in the semifinal. If they are to control those narratives, we'll see another Alabama W, but I still think this will be a close game.
Naomi, how about you?
Real quickly, I want to clarify something. I said that Alabama and Auburn played in the Outback Bowl. Clearly, it was the Iron Bowl, and clearly, Alabama was the SEC West champions. I have Indianapolis cold brain. But my prediction, I feel like Alabama is going to win it. Georgia, they're going to do a good job. It's hard to beat the same team twice, but I think Alabama has the juice, and they know what to do to bring back the championship trophy.
27-24, final score, Alabama wins. For Naomi Gray and Mo Carter, I'm Jonah Karp saying so long, and thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tomorrow, everybody.
Thanks for watching Fox 54 Sports Extra. Sponsored by Mountain Dew. Keep on doing you with Mountain Dew.